the Guru Vlogger ng Kuwait channel. We are Group 1 and today we will be discussing with you the first lesson of our reading and writing skills subject. This is going to talk about the different types of reading strategies and reading processes. So we all know that in order to develop our reading and writing skills, we need to firstly know more about how we are supposed to read. Surely, all of us know how to comprehend certain words, letters, sentences, paragraphs, and many more through reading. We all know that this is self-explanatory, being something we have learned to use even when we were just a child. Seeing letters, grouping them into words, and then making it make sense in our minds. A mother, for instance, may be reading a bedtime story to her children, while a teacher may be teaching to her students through reading a slide of a PowerPoint. Basically, reading is a cognitive process of decoding symbols, which are our letters, and deriving a meaning from a text. It showcases the interaction between the text and the reader.
We read to gain and share information, whether academic, personal, or professional purposes. We are also able to improve our reading skills through constant practice, where we apply many skills as we read. When we do that, we are naturally identifying the author's purpose, grasping the main idea of the text, locating important details, using context clues to understand unfamiliar words, answering specific questions, analyzing the text points, and critiquing the text.
Some may find that mastering these strategies could be just useless and a waste of time. However, this actually widely assists an individual in completely understanding the meaning of a piece of text, especially in literature. Let's take this for example.
Let us read the Jabberwock. Jabberwocky by Lewis Carroll. 'Twas brillig and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the way. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the mome rats outgrabe. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the Jubjub bird, and shun the frumious bandersnatch. He took his vorpal sword in hand, long time by man's own foe he sought. So rested he by the tumtum tree, and stood a while in thought. And as in uffish thought he stood, the Jabberwock with eyes of flame came whiffling through the tulgey wood, and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through the vorpal blade went snicker-snack. He left it dead, and with its head he went galloping back. And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. O frabjous day, Callooh, Calais, he chortled in his joy. 'Twas brillig and the slithy toves did gyre and gimble in the way. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the mome rats outgrabe.
From the given example read, it is most likely that you did not understand those huge and unfamiliar words to you, no matter how good your grammar or vocabulary skills may be. In light of this, the purpose of using effective reading strategies is showcased, being there to help us decipher these types of text. Of course, there are different types of reading strategies. The first one being getting an overview of your text, or we can call it surveying your text in order to get its pure main idea. Here, one aims to understand the wholeness of a text, basically its overview. Using this, an individual has the goal of finding the gist of a text's content, using the skills of previewing, skimming, and scanning. Firstly, we have the skill of previewing. Previewing involves looking at the readily visible parts of the text, like titles and subtitles, visuals, pictures, charts, and many more. It's just like viewing a preview of a movie, wherein all the short clips embedded into one short video can give you a gist of what this upcoming movie is gonna be about. When previewing your text, you will firstly identify your purpose for reading. Then, examine the titles and subtitles of the text. Browse the introduction and conclusion as well in order to understand how it starts and how it ends, helping you predict the body of the text. Lastly, take time to appreciate the visual elements of the text too. Remember that when you preview a text, you are basically viewing every element embedded into the content of the text. Not in a way that you're simply reading, but in a way that you are observing the information, making sense of it in your head. Previewing is great to getting to know new concepts, especially the poem read to us a while ago. Now, the next skill to be mastered under learning how to get an overview of your text is called skimming. Skimming involves looking for the main point of what you are reading, as well as identifying the many ideas that support and develop this main point. Here, you are basically rapidly reading, physically moving your eyes, and also tracing your fingers along the lines of text. Basically, speed running your reading. When you skim, you are aiming to understand the main idea. Skimming is also not beneficial if you're trying to understand a very heavily literature or when you're trying to learn a new concept. Skimming is mostly used when you are studying or reviewing for a test. So when you're cramming late at night, try the skill of skimming.
The third and final skill under this strategy is that of scanning, where someone reads to look for specific information. This is usually used when you have a specific detail that you are looking for. Not everything is read, but you may run your eye along the lines until you find the details that leads you to the piece of information that you need. For example, your teacher may ask what was Red Riding Hood tasked to bring to her sick grandmother. Using scanning, you can scan the text with the goal of finding a dish that is to be brought to her grandmother. Following the strategy of getting an overview of the context, one can then apply the second strategy. This is using context clues, where one perceives idea and comprehending different terms and concepts unfamiliar to you through observing the surrounding content of the detail that you are scrutinizing. Context clues are words, phrases, and sentences that surrounds an unfamiliar word that can help you recognize the meaning of an unknown word, because the text gives you information about it. This is a very useful process because it allows you to read more fluently. Understanding what you are reading in the process, context clues can be impersonated into real-life situation where we can see the quote-unquote clues in certain interpersonal situation with the others in its oral embodiment. A woman may enter a party and see her husband with another lady. Where the lady is being touchy with her husband, the woman may brush it off easily as friendship at first, but the context clues, which are the actions of the woman being touchy with her husband, may show that her husband is cheating on her in this context. Just like in reading, surrounding information that is not necessarily the main subject can bring you to a very different conclusion. The grasp the main gist of the topic. Context clues have its own types.
Firstly, we have synonyms. Synonyms are basically words that have shared meaning with a target word. You will be able to find this in a sentence based on the sentence structure or when words such as like and as are used to compare the two. For example, his essay only looked like pure gobbledygook to me. As nonsensical as it is, no one could understand it. One would understand that the word gobbledygook means nonsense, based on the word nonsensical in the sentence as it is used after the clue word as. Another clue would be the phrase no one could understand it, because it supports the synonyms word.
Secondly, we have the antonyms. This is opposite to synonyms, as antonyms are words that are the complete opposite of each other. One can know that a word is one's antonym when certain clues or context are used, such as but, despite, instead, and contrary. Unlike, however, even though, or the contrary, and conversely.
For example, his malevolence increased for her actions, however, his love still stayed for the girl. You can see that the word malevolence means hatred,
because it is an unfamiliar word that is contrasted with the word love coming after the clue word contrasting however.
Third skill under this strategy is the skill of comprehending examples. Examples are specific details in a text that are used to clarify the meaning of the word. Words and phrases that receive examples are such as and for.
For example, Sir Amel was jovial with our group, shown in ways such as cheering, clapping, and smiling happily. You can understand that the word jovial means happy, as it can be defined by the examples cheering, clapping, and smiling happily.
We then have the skills of comprehending explanations and definitions. Explanation may be stuck into a sentence that explains an unknown term, showing that the phrase is because and that is follows a word with further explanation. One may also see is, means, is defined as, and refers to as well. For example, Sir Mel found our presentation to be thoughtless, meaning it was over average or perfect. The last skill under this strategy is the ability to comprehend clues involving situation. The situation of a word or idea of a sentence may be used to identify the usage of an unfamiliar word. However, meaning of words also change depending on the context and how it is used. For example, the sentence I am cutting up a paper and I am cutting classes means totally different things based on their situation. The first sentence means that I am literally cutting up a piece of paper with scissors, while the second sentence means that I am skipping classes.
Now, we all know everything about context clues as a strategy of reading. However, there's one last thing we need to learn, which is understanding the usage of connotations and denotations as a strategy of reading. When understanding a text, we also need to comprehend the different meanings particular words have. Two ways of describing words is by using connotations and denotations. Denotation is defined as the literal, basic, or even dictionary-derived meaning of a word. Basically, basing it off on technicality. Connotations, on the other hand, is considered to be sweet, soft, sugary, and even flowery. Connotations describe a word's positive, negative, or even neutral feelings of attitudes, ideas, or associations with other words or its involvement in a sentence. Basically, they are overshadowed with emotions and other external implications. However, as siblings, they do sometimes clash. Words can be defined differently in terms of denotation and connotation. If I ask the definition of the word teacher, denotation would say, a teacher is an authoritative classroom figure that disseminates information towards a group of pupils. On the other hand, connotation would say, a teacher is the hope of our futures, the symbol of willingness, dreams, aspirations, achievements, goals, success, victory, education, responsibility, the resemblance of our second parents. Following that up with another example, if I said the word alcohol, denotation would define it as, alcohol is a beverage produced by the fermentation of certain grains, wherein it contains a consumable amount of ethanol. While connotation would define it as, alcohol is defined as the liquid that is life-threatening on a sinful basis that could turn people against each other, create backstabbers, cut the bonds of strong-willed families, a symbol of adultery, irresponsibility, wrongdoings, violence, abuse, everything negative in this world, as these are sinful desires that ultimately creates a loophole to the forever hell. And just like that, it can also differ from person to person. Let's have this, for example. This is John. John has a best friend named Tom. On the other hand, he also has a frenemy named Bob. John is known to give assistance to others when it is needed. In the eyes of his best friend Tom, John is helpful and acts on inclinations of service. However, in the eyes of his frenemy Bob, he sees this as negative, and that John is a nosy person. Synonymous words with denotational meaning may be different with connotational meaning. If I had the words house, shanty, and home, you'd say that they're all the same, when that's in terms of denotation. In terms of connotation, house would have a neutral association, meaning it is simply a shelter of a person. Shanty is considered a negative association, knowing that a shanty is a small hut, usually for those who can't afford a luxury home, while a home is a place where you feel like you're in sanctity or you're safe. Understanding the concept of denotation and connotation truly helps an individual understand the hidden meanings hidden behind even common modern-day terminology. This is the end of Lesson 1, introducing to you the reading processes and reading strategies. Once again, we are Group 1 of Reading and Writing Skills. Make sure you like, comment, hit the notification bell, and subscribe. We hope to see you soon. Bye!